So, Gwen, it's only a few days ago I saw you the first time on the online training with Sigrun. You were one of the speakers there, and I found it very interesting what you are doing. And a few minutes ago, I looked to your website and see, whoa, you are not only a digital market expert, you are the digital marketing expert, having so much Forbes 500, is it right? Forbes 500 countries working for you, like Coca-Cola, Walt Disney, or whatever. So I have a very good person now here. Imagine that you were invited to a friend's party and your friend would ask you to describe your life in a few minutes. What would you tell the others? What was your life like?
Oh man, that's such a hard question because like you, I probably could create books and movies about my life. But sometimes when you meet someone for the first time, you don't want to overload them, right? And so usually when I talk to people for the first time at a party, I pretty much say, "Hi, I'm Gwen. I run my own online business." And people are like, "Oh, online, what's that?" And I tell them, I work in advertising marketing, influencer marketing, specifically, where I work with brands and I promote their products and services on my channels, which I started about 5 years ago. And now I teach other people how to monetize and grow their personal brand the same way.
Okay. So let's look a little bit deeper in your life.
Yes.
So you don't have to tell us your whole story. I think then we have 3 or 4 hours.
Yes, exactly.
Minutes, five, maybe 10 minutes. Tell us about Gwen Lane.
Got it. So I grew up in LA. I actually was born in the Philippines. I'm Filipino and immigrated to LA when I was 5 years old. I grew up here. And ever since I was little, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I think it was blood, maybe. I had, my family had businesses in the Philippines. And so I think I was naturally born entrepreneur. I would sell candy in the school bus. I would sell Pokemon cards on eBay. So I was always curious about business. But I think growing up, I kind of, societal norms and my parents telling me like, you should have a stable job and you have to be responsible. You have to pay the bills. You should do this. And so I ended up, going to college, not really knowing what to do, but I always had a side hustle. I was always selling tickets or selling clothes or something on eBay because it was fun for me. That was fun being able to get 2x or 3x. Even there, I was already a marketer and calculating my ROI. And here I was graduating college, not really knowing what to do and being torn between, should I go for it and have my own business or should I be safe? And even then, I already knew that's what I wanted, but I kept getting, okay, I need to go safe route. So I got my first job. I worked in advertising in the entertainment industry, which was a great experience. I love being able to now transfer those skills that I was doing with big movies. I worked in film marketing for Sony Pictures and marketing their theatrical releases. And so I pretty much learned everything I needed to know to launch a brand, to create an audience, all through my entertainment experience. And I've worked with multiple companies in entertainment doing that. And so I think it was just leading me again back to that initial calling of trying to do my own thing, but I kept putting it off. And it took me about a decade to really decide that, okay, I'm going to try to do my own thing. And that's when I started my own platform, The LA Girl. And The LA Girl was a blog. It just started as me talking about things to do in LA because being from LA, growing up here, lots of people are like, what should I do on the weekend? What's going on? And so it was more of a lifestyle event. And then I talked about my travels because I traveled a lot. And so 5 years ago was when I started that. 2 years in, I started working with major brands like Disney, Facebook, Google. They all reached out to me because I built an audience of LA women that was very engaged. And so I started working with a lot of brands, was able to quit my marketing job, but super thankful for it because I learned so much. And then people were asking me, how did you do that? How can I quit my job? How can I create my blog? How do I monetize? And so then I landed in the online business world where I was like, I get a little tired repeating the same answers to everyone. Why not create an online course? And then I created a bunch of courses and put it in my membership. And now I have the Spark School, which is my secondary business, and I teach influencers how to grow and monetize their business. And we now have over 750 members in my students that I get to teach every single day. So I'm so happy that, even though, I think I was really wanting to do this way before in my early 20s. I had to go through that journey and get that experience. And then now we're here. So that's kind of my life story-ish in 5 years. In 5 minutes or less. But there was a lot of ups and downs. It didn't just go, oh, I started, I won. No, there's lots of up and downs, lots of challenges. I changed my offer a lot of times. Sometimes I struggled with, is anyone even reading my blog? Is anyone even watching my videos? All those, challenges that originally come with starting a business. So, yeah.
Yeah. We will talk about these challenges because the people wanted to know, okay, when you're struggling, what are you doing there? What are you doing there? So
yeah.
For me, what is interesting, you told me that with 5 years, you came from the Philippines to America. Was it hard for you and your family, or was it really easy to integrate or immigrate to the US?
So it was tough for me. So I was 5 years old when I came here. So that brings us back a little to my story, which I think might be helpful for you guys, is when I was born, I was with my mom, and there it's very cultural that you stay with the family. And so my father had actually gone to the US already, and my mom actually went to follow him after I was born, and I was left with my grandparents when I was 4 months old. And so I was not with my parents for about 4 years because they weren't able to bring me to the US because of immigration purposes, and they wanted to set up that life there before I left. So it was really hard for me because when I came, I was attached to my grandparents and not really my parents. And I also had a lot of abandonment issues. I didn't understand then, immigration. And I just felt like why they came to visit me, but I couldn't go with them. And so I always felt like, why could I not go with them? And I always had feelings of rejection as well. And so they also had my sister when they came to the US. And so she was able to travel back and forth with them. And so I always felt like, why am I not allowed to go with my parents? And so when I was very young, I had those issues. So when I came, I felt very like not part of the family because I was left behind.
Okay. Coming back to the calling, what exactly do you think is your calling, your greatest gift, purpose, however you would call it?
Yeah, so when I was building my business, I felt like it was to help people with my content. And then when people started asking me, how do I do this? I realized that my calling was to teach other people. And this experience was not because I wanted to be successful as an influencer, but to actually be able to teach and mentor other influencers. And when I looked at all the issues, they all went back to the same thing. It was actually self-worth, and it was worthiness. And all of them were struggling with worthiness and being able to monetize and sell themselves as a brand and ask big brands for money and to pay them for their services. That was their biggest struggle. And so for me, it's my calling to help them rediscover that they are worthy and that they are worth something. And that does go back to my own story as when I was a child, when I had to go back and realize that I was worthy. And so that's really what I teach people, is like to recognize their self-worth.
Okay. And did you have some more important crossroads when you felt, okay, yeah, the first time when you came to America, maybe later, tell me about some important crossroads and moments when you are not really think of, oh yeah, I'm really clear to my decision, and maybe where you struggled a little bit.
Yeah, so there were lots of struggles growing up. So when I came to America, I felt like I didn't belong. I didn't speak a lot of English, and I was really young for my age, going into school. And so I really struggled with like belonging and having a sense of community. And so I think now with my business, it's so important for me to give that community to my students. And so I'm seeing that, I'm living that out. And then really that crossroad came at those points of like, do I go to college or do I start a business? And because in my mind, I wanted to please my parents and please my family that I had been desperately wanting to belong in, I wanted to show them, okay, I am going to take the path that they expect. And I felt like always felt like I wanted to meet their expectations of me, because this whole time I was trying to please them. And so I went to college, and even in college, I was like, is this what I really want to do? You know, is this even worth it? Like, I go to class, but I just felt like, you know, I'm one of those people that I'm super creative. I have lots of ideas, but of course, something in my mind was always like, no, but I have to be safe first, or I should get a degree so that I have something to fall back on, right? And in Asian culture, it's like you have to go to school. There's no not going to school. There's no dropping out and, you know, doing something else, like that you have to have this. And I also felt like at the time, like my parents, they did everything for us to go to school and to get the dream. And they brought us here to be able to have those opportunities. So I had that guilt of like, I have to do this because, you know, my parents brought me here so that I could have these job opportunities and stuff like that. And so in my 20s, after I graduated, that was when I was like, what do I really want to do? And what do I want to create in the world? In the 20s to 30s, that period was a lot of like trying to figure out who I was and who I wanted to be. I traveled a lot. I lived in Europe for a while because I was trying to figure it out. I would be at my job and I would be sitting at my cubicle thinking, is this all? Am I just going to stay here till I'm 60 and then retire? Like looking out the window, I'm like, am I stuck here 9 to 5 every day for the rest of my life? So there were times where I was questioning, like, what am I supposed to be doing here? And at the back of my mind, now knowing, like, there's always been something there, but I think I was just not ready or brave enough to pursue it. And it wasn't until my late 20s that I realized, you know what, like, I don't want to be that person that's stuck in an office for 40 more years. I want to help people on my terms. And I just felt like working in advertising and the entertainment industry, it's great, but like, who am I really helping? And am I seeing a direct impact? I'm seeing a direct impact in people's wallets and the CEOs are getting rich, and you know, like I could trace it to like, oh, when they watch a movie, they are emotionally connected, but I didn't feel like I had a direct connection with the person receiving that impact. And so when I started my own business, I would hear people say, thank you so much for writing this piece of content. It really helped me. I got direct feedback, and that gave me validation too, that I was doing something that made an impact on people. And then when I started teaching, that impact was a whole nother level. I was not just helping people figure out what they wanted to do in LA on the weekend, which is great, but not, it's a superficial kind of help. And in this case, now people are like, my students get to say, I'm confident that to charge for my work. Now I know that, I can impact people by talking about my journey and my story. Because I shared about my illness or my condition, people are coming out and saying, oh, me too. Like, I'm going through that as well. And so now with what I do, I feel like it's definitely, it was worth all the challenges and it was worth all the obstacles, because I am super happy right now. And if, time is not guaranteed, and if it ended tomorrow, I would be happy with what I did in my life.
Very good. That's the same for me. I can say every day, okay, when now life is off, shit happens. I love my life.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. What gave you the strongest feeling of fulfillment and meaning in your life?
When I hear from my students, that is the number one thing. I don't have any biological children. I do have a stepdaughter. So I kind of feel like I am that like leader figure, mother figure to my students. Sometimes I nurture them, I help them. As my husband and I say, our business is our baby. So our business gets all our energy and all our love and our attention. Like when we're hiking, we love to hike and travel. All we're doing is talking about our students. And when we share in the group our wins and people's revelations, and we have mindset calls where they start realizing, oh my gosh, like there are people out there who want to know me. I am worthy. I literally cry reading their posts because I can see the transformation. I can see the changes happening. I can see that. And what I love with working with influencers is most of them have their own audience. And so my impact is then a ripple effect to the impact they can make on their audience. And most of them have 1,000 followers, 10,000 followers, 100,000 followers. And so my mission is to impact in hopefully at least 1 billion people just by helping 100,000 influencers with 10,000 followers. I did that calculation. I'm able to do that with the ripple effect that I'm creating with the influencers I'm working with.
1 billion people. Okay, it's a really small mission, but it's okay. Great, I love it. Yeah, for me, my mission is to remember, to remind people, now women, to their birthright, to remind millions of women to their birthright, the right of a fulfilled, successful, healthy life full of wealth. And yeah, I love that. Wow. So how has your life changed since you followed your path? What was different to the life before?
Definitely that freedom. So before, when I was going to my job, I just felt like I was, a prisoner. It was, not literally, but it felt like I, felt committed that I had to physically be in the office, and then my energy and my creativity would belong to the company I worked for. And I felt like I would be sitting in my chair in the cubicle. I'm like, oh my God, is this it? It really felt like I was suffocating, and physically it started manifesting, especially when I was doing my business on the side. I couldn't wait to get home to work on my business. I woke up every day at 5 a.m. so I could have about 3 hours to work on my business before I go into work. So I became very obsessed with creating this, it was like the path to freedom. It was like my salvation. I could be saved by this other thing I was creating if I could I was able to monetize and get it to the point where it can replace my salary. So I would be like looking at the window, like, I can't go. I mean, no one was holding me down physically, but it did feel like I was a prisoner. And so at the end of my corporate career, I would get to the point where I would wake up and feel like my tummy ached, and it was just a physical, like my body was rejecting it already. My husband was like, quit your job already. I'm like, no, I have to get to a certain point. Luckily it didn't last that long. It took about like 3 months for me to quit and like go. And my boss was super happy because he knew, he was following me on Instagram. He knew what I was up to. And he was like, is it time? And I'm like, yes, it's time. So he was super happy for me. He's like, if you can do it on your own, why not? If you have the chance, the opportunity to build your own thing, he's like, why not? So I'm super happy about that. So now, like, I work and I'm still in the office building my business, but it's on my terms, right? If I want to go for a hike, if I want to go to the beach, I can do whatever I want. And I have the opportunity to move my day, be flexible. And I love going to my job knowing that I am impacting those people directly. And I could see the impact. I could see the changes in real time, and I don't have to wait to see it like years from now. So I do love the freedom, and I love to see the results that I was able to directly impact.
Okay, yeah. Let's dive a little bit deeper. What have been the most touching or moving moments in your life so far?
Yeah, I think some of it is definitely back to, working with my students when I'm teaching them one-on-one and I could see their face and kind of something goes off. Like they would be doubting themselves, being like, can I even do this? I don't have time. I really want to support, my husband, my family with this business, but I don't know if I'm ever going to get there. And so I work with them through it. I coach them. And I'm able to see, like physically, that they are able to see the possibility that it can happen for them. So some of the touching moments is when, my students are like, oh my God, I was negotiating with a brand and I asked for 3 times the amount and they said yes, and they couldn't believe it. And they're like, yes, you are worthy. And, it's not really about, the brand. It's about you asking for your worth and being confident about that. And then I've had people quit their jobs because they were able to create a business. So similar to the path I was in, like their business was able to sustain their livelihood. And so they get to stay home with their kids. They get to, their husbands now working with them in their business. So I love being able to help them with that success. And that is the most touching for me. Like if I just have those every day, I'm a happy person. I love seeing that results. And also like now, my husband is working with me in the business now. So he is part of the business. So the fact that I'm able to do that and we're able to be free and live on our own, that has been the best feeling.
So he's your CEO, yeah?
No, I'm the CEO. No, I'm the boss. He's the COO and the CTO. So he does tech and operations. But yeah, I'm the CEO. I technically started the business before we were dating. So I had to tell him like, nope, this is my business, but you're welcome to work for me.
So I've never heard someone telling me, okay, my husband is working for me.
Yeah, my husband works for me.
Great. I love that. So a little bit for the people. What are your 3 most important characteristics and strengths that you still use today to consistently follow your path?
Wow, great question. So 3 strengths. Number one is I feel like I am resilient. I think that because I've been able to go through a lot of hardships in my childhood, in my family, and kind of like having to support myself after college, and that resilience has carried me through. And so for me, I'm one of those people that will not give up. And there might be times where I feel like giving up, and that day I don't feel like doing anything, but I'm one of those people who can pick myself back up and keep going, even if it's baby steps, even if it's going to take years. I always believe that I can do it as long as I keep going. So I think that's been something that's really helped me. I've had major changes. I changed jobs a lot. I was trying to do different things. I move a lot, but I am able to be resilient and power through anything. So that's one of them. The second one is I think I have really good communication skills. I'm able to communicate what I'm saying very well. I think a lot of people struggle with sharing their story because of fear of judgment. And I used to struggle with that a lot. I used to not share, stories of abuse, or I'm a sexual assault survivor. And I've gone through lots of worthiness. I had to go through therapy for many, many years. And now I share it openly because I know that people can connect with that emotionally. And I think that when I share it, there are lots of people who are not brave enough to share it, but they feel like they're not alone. And if they can see someone who's overcome that and was able to be successful, then they could see the possibility themselves. And so for me, it was hard in the beginning to start sharing, and because, sometimes in cultural expectation society, you're like, don't air your dirty laundry, or don't tell people your stuff, like your closet, stuff in the closet. The family wants to keep it locked up. But I realized that when I share this story, more and more people are like, wow, like that happened to me too, or wow, like you were able to still be successful after all of that. And I volunteer myself as tribute to show that you can overcome anything if that's what you really want, and if you want to go after that dream. So communication, we talked about resilience. And the third one, I think the thing that has helped me get to where I am is the willingness to learn. I think I am forever learning. Like, just because I'm a coach and a teacher doesn't mean I'm not always a student. I am a student forever. Like, I love learning. I take many courses. I take programs. I have coaches myself, because there's always someone who can teach me something else, someone who can, give me learnings from their experiences. And I think that sometimes when people reach a certain level, they think they're done learning. And I don't believe that. I feel like we're always, always learning. And so even from my students, I'm learning. And so I think if you keep an open mind and open heart and be willing to listen, that you move faster because you're able to soak it in instead of rejecting other people's ideas and things that you could possibly learn from.
Mm-hmm. So talk from communication. I think the being authentic is the new gold in sales.
Yes.
And I don't know if it is the same in America, but in the German-speaking countries, fake it until you make it. It's everyone is doing that, and I think the people want to know the real stories of the people, and not only the successful stories.
Yes.
But so, and it's for me the same. The people are listening to me because I tell them my story, my real story, and that's what is yeah, where I can give an impact to them. And I hope that the people are going more and more and more being really, really authentic, because that's it. That's me, that's you, and that's life.
Yes, definitely. I think it is something that is happening more and more in America and also on Instagram, right? Because everyone shows their pretty pictures, but we all know that's not real life, right? And so I just shared something yesterday about like my arm that was hyperextended, and people were focusing on my hyperextended arm in the photo and not what I was saying. And it was a lesson that sometimes people focus on one thing when there's all these other things happening. And so people thought it was funny that I shared the photo, and I pointed out the flaws. But in reality, that's what people want to see. They relate more to the struggles and the challenges rather than, hey, me, I'm winning all the time. Here's my success. Here's my numbers. Here's all the good stuff. Everyone's like, where's the bad stuff? I want to see the bad stuff.
You're right.
Hey, tell me what is behind your door.
Exactly.
So how did you manage the beginning time and or the transition from your former job to your true destiny, financially, temporarily, relationship, environment, and whatever?
Yeah. So I was working my job and doing my business, on the side, but it felt like I had 3 jobs because I was doing that morning, evening, weekend. I started dating my husband at the time, and I told him, we don't go out because I got to work. And on weekends, we only have 1 day off, so we can hang out, but you have to also take pictures of me and go with me to events and stuff. He understood and was very supportive. So that was one thing that really helped, is having a supportive partner that, supports your ideas, even if they don't see the money coming in yet, right? Sometimes the money comes later, and it's idea first, and you have to put some work in. So I was super fortunate to find someone and to have someone that believed in me, supported me, didn't, give me crap about not being able to go out on weekends as much. He understood that I had a bigger mission, and he understood that, if this worked, which we were hoping it did, that we would be able to both work in the business and be free and not have to work for other people and jobs that we don't even like, right? So I'm glad that I was with someone that was able to see that vision. Financially, I was fortunate enough to be making enough money in my business to transition and leave and replace my salary. And so my goal was to at least, I was like, even if it's just 60%, I'm going to leave because I can't take it anymore. But I was fortunate enough to get to the point where I replaced my marketing director salary, something that I'm super proud of. And also emotionally, it was tough. There was always in the back of my mind, like, what are you doing? People would kill to have this job. People wish they would have a 6-figure salary. People would kill for a job in entertainment, especially in LA. Like, what are you doing? But my other thoughts was like, you know what? Someone would love to have this job, and they would do great at it because they would love it. And I'm just here taking up the space of someone else that would be happy to be in a job that doesn't have a business idea. So at the end of the day, I listened to that person, my other person, and was like, you know what, like this, I know that this is not what I want to do. And I need to take the leap, even if I have to risk failure, who knows if it was going to work. But now I'm so glad that I took that leap. It was very hard. It was, even when I left, I still had anxiety. I would still feel like, oh my God, what am I doing? Did I just make a huge mistake? Should I have just stayed there for longer? Should I have saved up more money? All those thoughts of self-doubt. But the resilience kicked in and I was like, come on, we could do this. And, you know, I was one of those people, like, if it doesn't, if I have to drive for Uber, if I have to get a side job, I'll do it. But I know that this business is going to work. It's just going to take a matter of time. So a lot of it was pumping myself up. Like, you could do it. You could do it. I meditate. I do affirmations. I have a very strong morning practice. So that helped me as well. I do a lot of gratitude journaling, meditation and yoga as well. I've been practicing yoga for 18 years, so that's been helping me. So I think you need to have those tools in place, because if you don't if you don't have something in place to prime and control those thoughts, they can definitely overtake you.
Okay, then I can skip some questions. Thank you. So how did you find this deep trust that the path is every day the right one? And how did you manage to always stay in your belief?
Oh man, I think, to be honest with you, I don't know. I think it's just something that just happened intuitively. In reality, like did I build the trust over time? Probably building a muscle that, okay, if I fall down, I get back up. I fall down, I get back up. And that repetition, I guess I knew that, oh, I'll get up either way. I've been through some hardships as well, and I was able to get up. So I guess, like, scientifically, I saw evidence that I was able to come back. That would be the logical explanation for that. But the spiritual explanation is, I think that I was just meant to do it, and I'm being called and pulled towards that. Sometimes unexplainably. You guys, you know, sometimes we have ideas that just come up and we don't know where they came from, but they're there. And to me, I've been learning more and more to trust that intuition, because it's been right so far. It's been right so far. So if I do hear, like, ideas in my mind, I come at it with a place of curiosity and be like, oh, that could be cool. Let me try that. And I think I've just been paying attention to what are the thoughts that come up, and being open to, like, maybe that is something I want to do, and let me try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, great.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's have a small look into your business. How did you do it, and how long did it take you to gain monetary value during your path?
Got it. So I run two businesses, the blog, the LA Girl, and then the school for influencers. And so the LA Girl, I started 5 years ago. It took me about 6 months to monetize. So for the first 6 months, it made no money. I would get, you know, invites to events, and I would get free stuff. Like, people would send me free products to feature on my blog and my Instagram and Twitter. But I didn't start seeing money about 6 months in. And I would just get, you know, a couple $100 here or there, nothing enough to, you know, to eat and to live on. And then it took about 2.5 years of doing that to actually start replacing my income. So it took about 2.5 years. So it took a long time. And then after that, I started the membership. And actually, that's 2.5 years. Here's a numerology pattern. 2.5 years to this day that we started the membership. And the membership, it was a slow start. I started at $27 a month, and I had 20 members, which was, you know, about $500 a month, not even. But I was like, yes, because to me, in my mind, if I can make $500, I can make $5,000. If I can make $5,000, I can make $500,000. 1,000 a time, right? So I was like, oh my God, I can sell something that I built once. You know, I like showing up for my group, and I support them on a weekly or monthly basis. But I was like, wow, imagine if I have 2,000 members or 1,000 members. And so I was obsessed. I became obsessed with the business, and creating funnels and all of that stuff excites me. I know a lot of people are like, oh no, funnels, tech, marketing. But as a marketer, I'm like, ooh, conversion rates, ooh, ROI, ooh, return on ad spend. And then when I started getting to ads and running them for myself, I'm so excited. I know people are like, what a nerd. So yeah, I'm a total numbers girl. I'm a nerd. I like knowing all my numbers. I love seeing the back end, building funnels, building flow charts. My husband's a software developer, so he helps a lot with all the back end stuff that I can't do. So he makes sure everything works. This business, we just crossed our $50,000 a month revenue goal this month. And so we have 750 members, and we're on our way to have 1,000 members probably in the next month or so.
Wow, that sounds really, really good. I love that stuff. So the people can learn a lot about success and about business. That's really, really good. On your way to success, did you have, you told me that, okay, no parties or whatever. Did you have to do or without other things or ways, or did everything come together and on the way that it is important to you?
There was definitely, of course, my personal life did have to be sacrificed a little bit. Like I said, we kind of dated in the beginning because I was like, okay, I have to get to know this person before I make them work for me. Just kidding. So we had some dating, but then also I would merge our dates with work because I would get invited by a bunch of restaurants to go have dinner and to feature them. So I was like, at least you don't have to pay for dinner, but you have to help me take pictures and you have to be okay with me documenting my work on Instagram. And he didn't complain. And we've been fortunate enough that my work would be go to a concert or go on a trip. And I don't think he was complaining about getting free hotel rooms and free flights to Maui and that kind of stuff. So I was fortunate enough to be able to build a business where it was fun to work and do that stuff. But now we work all the time. Even though I have the flexibility to not work, I love my job so much and I'm super passionate about it. A lot of my coaching calls are on the weekends, so it's just natural that I do have weekend work, and it's not something that I don't look forward to. I actually love coaching so much that Saturday morning coaching call, Sunday morning coaching call is fun for me. And, my husband and I, we love hiking. And so we just try to make sure, well, right now we haven't been doing that because we've been staying home and on lockdown, and a lot of the trails are closed here in California because there's just too many people here. So when we were able to, we were struggling with taking time off. A whole day was really hard for us. And sometimes we're on the beach and we're trying to relax, and then we're talking about our funnel. So when we were in Mallorca last October, we're trying to relax and we're like, did you get that funnel thing going up? Is that automation kicking in? Let me check really quick. So that is something that you have to know, is that if you are starting a business like this, unless you have a team that's handling everything, you're going to be very involved. And luckily we love our job. We love what we do, and we're very involved, but we did just hire our first full-time employee. So we've had part-timers and contractors before, but now we've been hiring more and building a team. Our goal is so that if we go on a 2-week backpacking expedition, the business will still be running. That's kind of our gauge. So we're hoping to be able to pass on and delegate more. But I think for everyone who's just starting a business and only 3 years old or under 5 years old, you kind of have to be more involved with it and still set up the systems and kind of be present. And we just like it that way. So yeah, so we've been having to use a lot of our personal time with the business.
I see this picture, Gwen Lane having coaching while she is cooking and hiking and playing with the child. So, one moment, please. Okay, let's do it together. Great.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think it's like you have to kind of adapt and be flexible, but we do try and like do the stuff that we love to do, but luckily we're able to do both while working. So
Okay. What specific situations have kept you back again and again, and what kept you on track to follow your heart during these difficult situations?
yeah, I think a lot of it was, like I said, those intuitive moments where something was like, you can do better than this, or there was something else you need to be doing right now. And so there was always those thoughts in my head and that pull to something greater and deeper. And like I told you, it was kind of unexplainable, but I think you know what I'm talking about. Like there's something missing or there's something pulling you. And so I think I became aware of it and I acknowledged it, and I decided that I was going to be courageous enough. So I think that's the main thing that I'm seeing is like making that decision, because sometimes we're like half foot in, half foot out. Oh, maybe I'm going to do it. Maybe I'm not. But once I decided like this is the business that I'm going to create, this is the legacy that I'm going to leave behind, then I'm a big, believer in manifestation, and that once you put your mind to it, everything, the universe conspires, and it feels like I'm on the right track emotionally too, and intuitively. I just feel like, no, this is what I'm meant to do. Yeah, I took a lot of detours. I took a lot of, challenging drives, and like there were times where there were lots of setbacks. There were times where I almost gave up. And there were times where I would cry because someone would write me a nasty email and like, trolls on the internet. We all know that happens. People hating on you and saying like, oh, you should be giving all this stuff away for free if you really want to help people. And I'm like, great. Yeah. And there were times where, like I was emotionally affected because, as someone who puts their story out there, and my experience in my life is in my programs, when someone's like, oh, I want to cancel, this is shit, and I didn't learn anything. I used to be very affected about that, and instead of realizing like, some people don't want to do the work or whatever, they just want their money back and it's not the right fit. So I've learned that, but before I would really internalize it, and I would have a horrible day and I would read the email and I'm like, oh, is it really bad? Do I need to redo my course? Like, what's wrong? And so my husband said, I'm not allowed to read customer emails anymore. I've been kicked off I've been fired from my customer support team. I'm no longer allowed to read refund requests because it emotionally affects me. So I think that also putting a boundary on your energy, right? Like I am not able to teach my best and coach my students 100% if I have in my mind, like, oh, someone wanted a refund this morning. I just have to accept that that's part of business. There's always going to be unhappy customers that whatever their problem is, whether it's financial or they realize they don't want to do the work, because my stuff actually requires you doing the work and going through the modules, and it's like school. And so I had to put in systems in place so that I don't read those emails anymore. So my husband and the team handle that now. And so that when I do show up for my students, I'm in a 100% positive space.
Okay. Is there anything you regret not having recognized earlier?
Oh man, so many things. So when I first started my business, we started as a membership, and then I would see a course about, oh, you should do a course or you should do a high ticket program. So I flip-flopped a lot. I had squirrel syndrome. I don't know if that's what they call it with you guys. It's shiny object syndrome. where you see a shiny object and you're like, oh, let's do that. Let's do that. So I was always flip-flopping instead of just sticking and focusing to one thing, which we are now doing. So I tried numerous things. And what I realized is that as much as I am resilient and successful and good at what I do, I'm also human, and I only have a limited amount of energy. And so if I'm trying to do 3 things at once, that energy is split up into 3 things instead of just one thing. And so if there is one regret, it was trying to do too many things at once, and forgetting that, you know, I do need to sleep too, and I do need to eat and do other human things. And I know I can do all of those 3 things, but just not all at the same time and alone. I think if I had to go back, or if I could go back, I would have just focused on one thing, make sure that's monetized first, and then move on to another thing and hire people to help me, because there's just too many moving parts. And as someone who it was just me and my husband helping me out a little bit, like that was just too much to expect. So I would adjust expectations and make sure that they're manageable, and not give yourself too high of an expectations, because I think setting realistic expectations so you're not disappointed because you're not superhuman and you don't have 50 hours in a day. So yeah, that's definitely one of my regrets.
Okay. Whoa. What is the most valuable knowledge for you?
I was actually just talking to one of my students about this today, because she was asking, you know, should I do this, or should I do this, or should I do this? And the one valuable piece of advice that I got is that there is no right choice. There's no one right choice. There's no one right answer. Whatever you pick is the right answer. And as long as you 100% believe in that path and that you are 100% committed. And so I always thought before, oh, I should do this, or someone said do this, which one? I'm so confused, I'm stuck. But really that was just an excuse for me not to pick one and just stick to it and see what happens and see the results. And so that's like kind of the most valuable piece of advice, is that whatever you choose is the right choice, and at that moment. And as long as you believe that that is the right choice for you and that it's going to work and you're going to do everything you can, then that is the right choice for you. And whatever anyone says, it's completely different experience. We're all on our own path. And just because it didn't work for someone doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. Just because it worked for someone doesn't mean it will work for you too. You just have to experience it. And let's say it's not the right decision in a year from now. That's totally fine to change your mind. And, but you do have to commit to that choice and believe in that choice.
Okay. Let's dive much more deeper. You talked about it because you asked this question for you very early in your life.
Yes.
What do you think? What is life really about?
Oh man, that is some deep questions. These are it's like autobiography questions. I think life is really about understanding that this is just an experience. This is one of the things that I realize, like, I take things way too seriously. I think like one path this is the path. And what I realized that we're just in like, I know this sounds weird. Maybe you don't think it's weird, but I think it's like a game. And it's just like choose your own adventure. You know, those books where you choose one way and then there's all these things that go and then you choose the other way, but you can't be there thinking, oh, I should have chosen the other way. And so for me, I think I just have to be present and like be present in my choices and know that this is the experience right now. And if I want a different experience, I could choose a different door tomorrow. And I think that once I started thinking of it in that perspective, that this is just all a fun experience and get the most out of it. And if I'm most fulfilled by helping people, then I go do that. And so I think like I follow my heart, I listen to my intuition, and I'm having the most fun right now. So it feels like I'm on the right track.
Okay, so life is just a game?
Yeah, life is just a game, and might as well have fun and not, take it too seriously or stay somewhere that you're not having fun. Like there's this whole other door. There's another door. There's always another door. You can go through it. You could be scared. You don't know what's in there, but there is always another door, and you can decide to see what's behind it or not, or stay where you are.
Is that as well your ideal that you are following?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
Definitely. So like for now, right now, I check in with myself every day. Like, is this still fun? Is this still making you happy? Does this still feel good to you? And if ever the answer is no, I am okay to start over again. I'm okay to be like, okay, what's next? Or, let's see what else is now interesting to me. And I'm one of those people who have so many ideas, so I know a lot of things are coming up. But right now, today, in this moment, I know that this is where I'm supposed to be.
So you are a teacher for your members.
Yes.
For the moment, what can people learn from you, your know-how or your experiences?
Yeah, so I help people build their brand, their personal brand. So, creating kind of their business based on who they are. And so I help them define themselves, like, who are you as a brand? Just like these big brands, right? They have all these identities, right? Disney has their own identity. They're fun. They're all about magic and being playful. And so I help people figure out what is their brand identity, who are they as a brand, and how do they communicate to their audience, and how do they build communities. Sorry about that. That's my puppy. So yeah, I help them connect with their community by putting themselves out there, sharing their stories. And so when they build these communities, there's now people or brands or services and products that want to get in front of their audience, similar to entertainment, right? A show has an audience, and then a show can have commercials. And so the monetization piece is the brands can run a commercial in your show, and your show could be on Instagram, your show can be on YouTube. Now anybody has their own channel. Now for me, this is kind of like the democracy of entertainment industry. You don't have to be on CBS or Fox or CNN. No, this is the Gwen show. And if the brands want to buy advertising space in my channel, they can. And so I kind of help influencers realize that first you got to have a show, because you got to put yourself out there. You have to have content. And then if you want to sell TV spots or ad spots in your show, that's how you monetize. And then later on, if you want to start selling to your audience, maybe you have a physical product, a digital product, maybe you're a coach, then you can monetize to your audience, and you can also sell viewership to your audience. So there's two ways to monetize as an influencer: is B2B to brands and B2C to your audience directly.
Okay, thank you. So the last questions. What do you think is essential to live a full and happy life, and what is not necessary?
Wow. So I think what is essential is definitely trusting yourself and your intuition. If you do feel like there's something that you need to do, I think that it's essential to follow that and to go after it, because you don't want to live having the regret of, oh, I should have gone on that trip, or I should have started that business. And 10 years, like, time goes by so fast that it's like, I don't want you to still be thinking about that 20 years from now, like, what if? So I think it's essential to be willing to do things and to be willing to fail if it turns out that that wasn't the right decision, or if it doesn't work out. I kind of like it to liken it to relationships, right? Like falling in love. You never know if it's going to work out or not. But even with a worst heartbreak, it could also be an amazing experience that you learn from and have magical memories from. So what I think is not essential is definitely blaming yourself or kicking yourself for having mistakes and having lessons. And I think we just all have to be thankful for the experience and grateful for what we learn in the journey. And usually we come out stronger and more resilient after we make those mistakes and experience those failures. And so I think that that's all part of the journey. And so I think once you realize that, okay, that was just part of it, part of my life movie coming out later, it becomes a more interesting game and interesting experience when you realize that, that was all part of it.
Okay, so the last question. In one sentence, what is the most important message you want to convey to the readers and as well the viewers?
Wow, the most important one, is it one sentence? Wow. I hate to sound cliche or like say something that's a quote.
What's for you? What is it for you?
For me, I think that's it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes and to go after something that may or may not work out, because if it does work out, it's definitely going to be worth it. So I think take a risk. Take the risk, play the game. And most people that I know and have seen, and all the most successful people, they had to take some sort of risk or leap. And even if that was it, or maybe it was the next idea or the next, it paid off in the long run. And now we can see that, it paid off.
Thank you very much, Gwen. Wow, it was great. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your golden nuggets. Thank you for your smiling and your puppy.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me on. And I love hearing about you, and I love hearing about everything you're up to. And I'm excited to see everything come to America. And I think Americans are going to love seeing your stuff over here.
Danke, dass du dir meinen Podcast angehört hast. Ich hoffe, du konntest für dich so richtig viel mitnehmen. Wenn er dir gefallen hat, dann empfehle ihn gern weiter. Gib mir bei YouTube ein Like und bewerte ihn bei iTunes. Ich danke dir sehr dafür. Heute habe ich eine ganz besondere Überraschung für dich, denn vom 26. bis 30. Juli diesen Jahres findet das kostenfreie Shiro Summer Business Bootcamp statt. Ein 5-tägiges intensives Bootcamp, mit dem du nicht nur die 7 wichtigsten Prinzipien für ein erfolgreiches Online-Business erlernst. Nein, du bekommst von mir alles, um noch diesen Sommer als New Female Hero voll durchzustarten. Denn während andere am Baggersee liegen und hoffen, dass nun alles endlich wieder besser wird, baust du dir dein eigenes erfolgreiches Online-Business auf. Basierend auf dem, was dir die größte Freude bereitet, nämlich deiner Bestimmung. Ruft es in dir schon lange danach, dir dein eigenes Business aufzubauen? Oder hast du vielleicht ein Business, aber irgendwie läuft es nicht so gut? Irgendwie hast du dennoch großen Respekt davor, jetzt den nächsten großen Step zu machen? Hast dich bisher nicht getraut oder wusstest auch einfach nicht, wie du es anstellen sollst? Oder bist du einfach nur mega frustriert in deinem Job, weil du dich dort nicht so ausleben kannst, wie du es willst? Weil man dich als Frau nicht wertschätzt mit dem, was und wie du bist? Man dich nicht wirklich sieht? Wusstest du, dass wir im deutschsprachigen Raum lediglich 16% Gründerinnen haben? Das darf und muss sich ändern und dafür will ich auf jeden Fall einstehen. Diesen Sommer kann sich all das für dich ändern, vorausgesetzt du willst das. Das Shiro Summer Business Bootcamp sind 5 Tage intensiv for free für dich. 5 Tage Live-Training und Workshop, jeden Tag von 19 bis 21 Uhr. Das heißt, 2 Stunden rund ums Thema Bestimmung und Seelenplan. 2 Stunden zum Thema einzigartige Positionierung. 2 Stunden Erarbeiten eines Entrepreneur-Mindsets, das heißt, dich auf ein Mindset zu trainieren, was auf Erfolg programmiert ist. 2 Stunden New Marketing, denn Marketing funktioniert heute anders. Und 2 Stunden Future Sales. Ich habe für mich erkannt, dass das Thema Verkauf erstens für viele, gerade für Frauen, extrem negativ belegt ist, um es mal so auszudrücken. Und zweitens, du dich freuen kannst, weil Verkaufen nämlich heute und vor allem morgen total anders geht. Das werde ich dir aufzeigen. Das heißt also 5 Tage Mehrwert vom Feinsten. 5 Tage Step-by-Step Umsetzung der 7 wichtigsten Prinzipien für ein erfolgreiches Online-Business. Übrigens, Online-Business heißt nicht, dass du nur online arbeitest. Online-Business heißt einfach, dass du dir ein virtuelles, digitales Business aufbaust, mit dem du natürlich auch live arbeiten kannst. Du bekommst 5 Tage klares und ehrliches Feedback von den anderen Teilnehmerinnen, die genau wie du am gleichen Thema arbeiten. Somit bekommst du auch Zugang zur privaten Community, die exklusiv nur den Teilnehmerinnen zur Verfügung steht. Hier bekommst du die volle Unterstützung von allen Gleichgesinnten, werdenden oder schon vorhandenen Unternehmerinnen. Und du hast letztlich die Chance, am SSBB Award teilzunehmen, dem Shiro Summer Business Bootcamp Award, wo es darum geht, einen Preis zu gewinnen, der, und das kann ich dir jetzt schon sagen, seinesgleiches suchen wird. Sei also dabei und erzähl gerne auch deinen Freundinnen, Kolleginnen und Bekannten von dieser Chance. Den Link zur Anmeldung findest du wie immer in den Shownotes. Ich freue mich auf dich, weil ich weiß, das wird großartig. Hab ein erholsames und glückliches Wochenende. Alles Liebe hier von Ibiza, dein Siranus.